Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode.
In today's episode, I was joined by TalkSPORT's Will Varnety as we preview Week 7 of the 2025 NFL season. Will discusses the Vikings prior to their game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Are they a team that is already looking to next season because they're still unsure on J.J. McCarthy, or are they a team that could potentially sneak into wild cards?
I discuss what should be an exciting end to this year's London games.
As UK fans, we want a nice game to finish off the series as well. We want that game that's going to have people sort of wanting more.
On the edge of their seat.
Yeah, exactly.
As me and Will predict each game winner in Andy versus the guest.
Does that mean you're going Falcons?
No.
Hope you all enjoy.
Hi everyone, Andy here, and welcome back to the Across the Pond NFL podcast. And today we're on a different location to normal. We are at the Jaguars team practice hotel ahead of their game against the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday. And with me, I've got a first-time guest on the show, Will Varnety from TalkSPORT. Will, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, Andy. Great to be with you. Look, you just said it there. Jaguars taking on the Rams. I think it's the most entertaining London game of the three that we've had. You've got to say Liam Cohen going up against Sean McVay. I think it's going to be a really intriguing game, and especially great atmosphere at Wembley. Look, Wembley getting sold out for this. Yeah, I can't wait for Sunday.
Yeah, me too. And we've just been speaking to both of Liam Cohen in his podium session on Friday. We both got to ask him some questions, and I managed to ask him about his sort of time with McVay and about how he can sort of prepare for this defense on Sunday. And of course, McVay's actually 4-6 against former assistants in his career. What have you told the team about what they can expect from this, particularly this Rams defense?
Yeah, we've tried all week. Look, these guys all watch the tape, right? They're in meetings, in their individual meetings watching tape. They're in unit meetings watching tape. They're in special team. There's a lot of film being shown of their good players or things that we can attack and exploit. We've really just tried to focus so much more on ourselves as opposed to, all right, Jared Verse or these guys. And we know what they can do in so many ways. And look, you've got to come ready to buckle your chin strap against this team. That's ultimately what it's coming down to for us about this football game, right? There's our level of detail, our level of fundamentals, technique, discipline. We're going to need it because this is a team that typically doesn't hurt themselves very often. One of the least penalized teams in the National Football League. We've got to do a good job of winning the field position and the turnovers. We've got to get better in that. If we can win that and use some of the field position to our advantage based on what the elements are going to look like on Sunday, that's what it's going to be about for us.
And that was my question with Liam Cohen. Expect more questions on the socials, on across_the_pod on X and Instagram. But we're here to preview Week 7. Before we get into all of that, you are a first-time guest on the show, and you are a New York Jets fan, Will. So, for all your sins, why are you a Jets fan?
Why I'm a Jets fan? Really, it goes back to, I started out actually a San Francisco 49ers fan. I'll be honest. And I just didn't feel that affinity with the team, even though I see them lose the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2020. There wasn't something luring me in. And then with TalkSPORT, we started doing more and more with the New York Jets. My girlfriend Melanie and her family moved out to New Jersey, and it felt right at that moment that, okay, maybe there could be something here with the New York Jets. And so far it's stuck. I mean, look, it would have been more responsible of me to stick with the 49ers, potentially looking at their seasons since then and what's happened with the New York Jets. But yeah, that's why I stuck with the Jets. Had some great opportunities, great going to MetLife, and especially I think Jets fans, we all suffer in pain, right? So there's something about that when you're all in it together. But no, that is why I'm a New York Jets fan.
To be fair, both teams have got no rings since you became a fan, and there's no sort of what-if for the Jets. You haven't got that 2 Super Bowl losses. You haven't got the missed pass by Garoppolo in Super Bowl 54 against the Chiefs. You haven't got that sort of, at least when you're going bad, there's no what-if. You just expect probably there's no sort of what's the word? You aren't sort of, it's not the hope that kills you sort of mentality. It's always going to kill you.
Yeah. Look, there is something about the New York Jets where 0-6 to start the season. I know we're going to get onto their game against the Panthers this weekend, but yeah, if you don't stay positive, you may as well just give up watching football at this rate with this team. But look, it is the hope that makes you stronger. And look, who knows what's going to happen to the New York Jets in the near future. and the long-term future, I think near future, it looks like they're probably going to get the number 1 overall pick come the draft in April. But look, staying positive.
Well, let's head on to our Week 7 prediction. Of course, we had friend of the show, Freddie Harper-Davis, in Week 6, and we did Andy versus the guest. Let's find out the results of Andy versus the guest. So in the end, I did beat Freddie by 1 score, meaning that currently it is 3-2 in favour of me against the guest. Will, your task today is to try and beat me in these predictions and try and make it 3-3 in Andy versus the guest.
I'm feeling the pressure. Look, this is my first time on with you, Andy, so I need to make an impression, I need to make a statement. I'm intrigued to see what we go for.
Well, first of all, let's go on to the Sunday's game. Of course, we are recording this the day after, or the morning after, the Bengals did beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football in the oldest quarterback matchup in history. So we are next going up to Sunday's game, the final of 3 London games at Wembley Stadium as the Jags take on the Los Angeles Rams. Will, as you're the guest, I'll let you go first. Who's winning this for you? Is it the Jags or is it the Rams?
It's a really tough one. I think it's been one of the toughest to pick from this weekend, and I think there's a lot of different narratives around it. We heard from Liam Cohen just a few moments ago about the Rams coming in on Saturday, something that we've never really seen in an international game. The fact they're going to be here for such a short period of time, whether that's going to be a hindrance or it's actually going to help them out. I'm going to go with the Jaguars on this one. I think the Jaguars coming here, despite losing to the Seahawks last week, coming here with a lot of faith, a lot of real positivity around the building still, 4-2 record. And I think this is an offense that once it starts humming, I think we're really going to see that come to fruition. It's a defense that's playing really lights out football at the minute as well. So look, I think no Puka Nacua. I think that's the really interesting thing. Will he play? I doubt it. I think they'll save him and then keep him for the bye. But yeah, I'm going to go Jaguars on this one.
Me too. I think I'm always in favour of the earlier you get here, I feel the more chance you've got of winning. That's why the Jags beat the Bills back in 2023. I do feel that had a massive impact, despite it being very much Bills Mafia central at Tottenham. So I go for the Jags as well, and I think you put a nail on the head then. No Nacua, I think, makes a huge difference, because Devontae Adams, whilst he's been great as the second or third choice receiver, as a number 1, I don't know whether he's still got that ability. So for me, I'm going for the Jags to win as well. Moving on to Sunday, the first game is the Chicago Bears hosting the New Orleans Saints, and I'm going for a Bears win. I've not given the Saints any wins so far this season. That kind of shows my views on the Saints, but I think they've been slightly better than maybe we thought they'd be, but still not great. They got a win against the Giants, who are rolling hot right now. But I just think the Bears, from what I saw in the win against the Commanders, albeit it was very tight game, I just feel like I got more faith in the Bears to win this game than the Saints, and it's in Chicago as well. How are you seeing the game?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Andy. I think Chicago, they're starting to tick. When they had a tough start to the season, there was a lot of questions about, Caleb Williams, is they really going to get going under Ben Johnson? But I think we've started to see this offense get going. They made some changes on the offensive line. I agree, I think the Bears will win this, but completely to your point on the Saints, they're no walkover in my opinion. They may be 1-5, but I think Spencer Rattler is showing a lot more than many people thought he was going to show coming into this season. This quarterback battle with Tyler Shook, who they took in the second round, I think he's showing a lot to the point where I think this could be a really interesting game. I don't think it's going to be a walkover for the Bears. I think it will be quite tight, but I will stay Chicago to get the win.
So next up is a AFC West battle as the Chiefs host Raiders at Arrowhead, a game that actually friend of the show Shane Brennan's going to be going to. Will, for you, who wins this?
Well, I think Shane should have picked a better game because I'm not sure there's going to be much competition in this. Look, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that's any surprise. It's a team that really started slowly but started to pick up. They did lose to the Jaguars, of course, but then, I think they've shown so much in terms of that grit in getting over the line. Rashee Rice comes back. I think that's going to be open up the offense a lot. Raiders, I don't know what you think, Andy, but really disappointed me so far this season. So much high hopes with Pete Carroll coming in. You trade for Geno Smith. It feels like this is a team that could potentially be a wildcard playoff team. They've shown nothing of the sort, and I see nothing but the Chiefs once again getting one over their AFC West rival.
I totally agree. I think the Chiefs are back. I think the AFC, I don't think is particularly competitive right now, because you've got the Ravens without Lamar Jackson for months, and even they're 1-5. So even if they come back with Lamar Jackson fully healthy, is it going to be enough to get in the playoffs? Probably not. Same thing with the Bengals and Joe Burrow. So it's really, for me, it's just the Bills and the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs showed me. I think you can beat the Ravens and this bad defense, fair enough, but to beat the Lions the way they did, I thought was really impressive, and I think that Mahomes has shown time and time again he can make it work with subpar receivers, which not many quarterbacks can do in the NFL. So I think from what I saw there against one of the best teams in the league, I think you think about the kind of plays Mahomes was making in that game, AFC Player of the Week last week. I just think that even if it was against a good team, I'd back them to win, but against this Raiders team, I just feel like it's a massive mismatch. And you said it there, Rashid Rice back as well. No team wins Super Bowls after 5 weeks. It's how you go. As long as you get into the playoffs, obviously having the better seed helps. But I think them just getting in will be enough for them, like the Patriots was for years with Belichick and Brady. So I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think they're going to win this game, and I wouldn't be shocked if they once again make the AFC Championship game. So next up, we've got another game which is a bit of a mouth-watering tie. You got the Eagles travelling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Will, who wins this for you?
Yeah, I mean, the vibes are completely off, aren't they? In Philadelphia, it's a team that starts 4-0 and then they lose their last two, and it was pretty abysmal at MetLife against the New York Giants. Against a Minnesota team that has still so many questions, and I think so many people are confused about where this team could potentially be. Are they a team that is already looking to next season because they're still unsure on JJ McCarthy, or are they a team that could potentially sneak into wildcard? I'd probably go with the former. I just don't see enough from JJ McCarthy. Again, you're trying to get the best out of Carson Wentz. It feels like a team with more questions than answers right now, regardless of the talent. I suppose the only question is going to be when JJ McCarthy comes back in front of a fortified offensive line. You have him playing with Christian Darrisaw for the first time. Can that be the settler for him? Still a lot of questions about whether he will start this weekend, JJ McCarthy, or whether it'll be Wentz, or whether it could even be Max Brosmer at this point. But for me, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles to win this one. Again, the vibes are off, but I just think they have too much talent for the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. What do you think?
I agree. I've got the Eagles winning as well. I think these kind of back-to-back losses is exactly what the team needs. I do feel like, every team, you need that bit of adversity. The team's going to, go through these spells. Not many teams go, 15-1, 16-1, stuff like that. So I think the Eagles win this. They've kind of been given a reality check, a kick up the backside they need, and I think this will be the exact result that is important towards them rebuilding their season. And I think the Vikings, there's a lot of uncertainty, as you said, around the quarterback position. And I think for me, it's I'm not going to say easy Eagles win, but I think it's going to be still, a comfortable victory for the Eagles. So next up, we have two games involving both our teams. First of all, the Dolphins travelling to the Cleveland Browns, and the Jets hosting the Carolina Panthers. First up, Dolphins Browns. I'm going to go for the Browns win, which might shock people, but I think we haven't been as bad. I don't think it was 1-5 to Jets, been a lot of close games. But this Browns defense, I think, caused a lot of problems to Tua and his Dolphins offense, and a lot of unrest around this team now with Tua's comments in the week. And the team just seems to me right now, the Dolphins team, a team that's in disarray, a team that's hurting, and I just think that right now the confidence this team has, I just don't know, in Cleveland as well, with their amazing defense. I think that run game of Judkins could cause problems to our run defense, because that has been a problem this year at times. So yeah, I'm going to go for the Browns win, and then for the Panthers Jets, I'm going to go for the Panthers. Sorry, Will. But what I've seen so far from the Jets has not been good. You obviously know a lot more than me about how bad the Jets have been so far this year. And the Panthers, whilst they had a bad start, they beat the Dolphins. They've come back from 17 points down. They beat the Cowboys, who people were putting Prescott as an MVP candidate. So the Panthers have been very up and down, very hit and miss. 1 week they're beating the Falcons by 30-0, 30-0, and 1 week they're losing in embarrassing fashion. So yeah, hard team to predict on, the Panthers. They've been very hard to bet on this year, but for me, certainly, I'm going to give them the win. But for you, who wins these two games?
Yeah, let's start with Browns Dolphins. I don't know if you've seen the weather report on this one, Andy, but
I haven't actually.
Right, okay, so let me tell you, they're expecting between 50 to 60 mile per hour winds and 94% chance of rain. So expect some tough conditions for Tua Tagovailoa and Dylan Gabriel throwing the football come Sunday. Like you said, Quinton Judkins, could this be the game? He's shown some flashes. Could this be the real start breakout? I agree. I'm going to go Browns. I think if you look at both of the teams, and if there is an elite unit on either side, Well, for the Dolphins, there is an elite unit on offense or defense. For the Browns, it is their defense. This is a stark unit under Jim Schwartz that we saw can be really competitive. Look, in the end, this is the unit that got them their only win of the season up against the Green Bay Packers. So this is a team that can play hard, can play fast, has got talent on defense. So yeah, I'm going to go the Browns to win this one. I think again, look, if I'm looking at the under points on this one, I'd probably be looking at that. But yeah, I think the defense will be stern for the Browns, and I think that will get them over the line for a Browns win. And then yeah, Panthers Jets. Look, I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think it's the only wise decision to make right now. How can I back a team that is 0-6? The Jets own winless. Again, you've got Justin Fields getting -10 net passing yards last week. This is an offense that really hasn't got going. Looks like Garrett Wilson's going to be out. So again, you look at the receiver options there. Who have you got to work with? You've got your rookie out of the 5th round in Arian Smith, or the 4th round, sorry. And you're having to elevate a lot of guys from the practice squad. But if this offense struggled with Garrett Wilson last week, who I believe is a top 10 receiver in this league, how can it get going with the options that Justin Fields has at his disposal? It feels like there's unrest. Is Breece Hall going to be traded? Is Jermaine Johnson going to stay ahead of the trade deadline? Look, I think this is a team that right now is in disarray with a fresh head coach, and it's not good signs right now for New York. Panthers, you mentioned, inconsistent, but they have shown flashes under Bryce Young this season. Rico Dowdle having a massive game last week. Look, again, I just think you can run on this Jets defense. It had a good week last week, had a much more positive week than it's shown before, but I think you can still get at it, and I think it does tire. So yeah, I'd be going the Panthers and the Browns on those two games.
Well, if you were at the game on Sunday between the Broncos and the Jets, if you were sitting in the stands, you had 10 passing yards more than Justin Fields. Just think, you could be a quarterback one day.
Look, it was painful to watch. We were both there in the stadium, and when you're watching that game, when you're watching it happen, you're thinking, one, the quarterback won't throw the ball, and two, the fact that he's in negative yardage. Look, it wasn't... We spoke about it earlier off air. It wasn't the most thrilling of games when you look at it points-wise, 13-11, but there was still this really intriguing narrative about it, which kept you entertained because both teams in the second half were so bad. So let's hope we don't have anything like that at Wembley on Sunday, please.
Yeah, I think for all of our sake, we won a good game. Browns-Vikings was going to have a great ending, but I think as UK fans, we want a nice game to finish off the series as well. We want that game that's going to have people sort of wanting more.
On the edge of their seat.
Yeah, exactly. Next game, we'll do the Titans as they host the New England Patriots. Patriots rolling right now. They're level on wins and losses with the Buffalo Bills. So, for them, they are starting to find their groove under Mike Vrabel. And I think against his former team, a team that's just fired Brian Callahan, new head coach bounce, interim head coach bounce, you never know, in Tennessee as well. And they'll know Mike Vrabel down to a T, some of the players. But even with that, the way Drake May's playing, the way this Patriots team is playing in general, I just don't see any way this Titans team, who the only win came really when it shouldn't have been a win. That 9 times out of 10, they did not beat the Cardinals in that game. So for me, Titans are to me one of the worst teams in the league, and I think the Patriots are on hot form. Give me the Patriots over the Titans. Will, are you in agreement?
Full agreement with yourself, Andy. Look, we've got a couple of narratives in this one, don't we? Over the Mike Vrabel revenge game, like you mentioned, and then you have the new coach bounce, right? So Mike McCoy stepping in for Brian Callahan, who was fired earlier in the week. Again, I just don't see enough talent on the Titans right now, and I think it is a mess. Like, I completely agree with you. But the New England Patriots, it feels like they're only starting to just get going now. And this is a team that right now leads the East. So I think it's a team where Drake May has shown so much promise already in his rookie season last year, and then coming in, it feels like he's really made steps and growth. And I think right now, it's a team that's only just going to increase with confidence. Look, could you slip up in this game? Potentially, but I think Mike Vrabel will make sure this team does not do that, and they get over the line, get a win, and leave, and I think I said it pre-season, I think the Patriots are a team to watch for the wild card. You mentioned how the AFC right now, it feels so much weaker than the NFC. I think the Patriots are a team definitely to keep your eye on in terms of a playoff come January.
I totally agree. Next up, we'll go to, speaking of the Broncos, you mentioned them before, they host the New York Giants. The Giants are rolling right now with Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart, as well as this young mixture of young but also experienced defensive players on that defensive line. But I do think the train stopped here. I think the Dart and Scatterby trade, I think up against the Broncos defence. Now, the Broncos offence was poor in London. That goes without saying. They haven't been great really all year. But I just think this Broncos defence, again, could cause problems to the Giants. And almost give Dart that sort of welcome to the NFL moment, same with Scatterby. Maybe that game where they go for a bit of adversity. It's in Denver as well. Think of the altitude as well. So yeah, give me the Broncos over the Giants. Will, how are you seeing this one?
Look, I'm sorry to be boring, but I'm completely agreeing with you again, Andy. Look, Broncos, like you just mentioned there, this is a team that the defence is fierce. It's a top 5 unit in the league. They showed that once again against the Jets. The offence wasn't ticking, and they were fully aware that it wasn't good enough. I expect them to bounce back. Let's not forget, as much as we're on a hype about the Giants right now with Dart, Scatterby, that win over the Eagles, they gave the New Orleans Saints their first win of the season. This is a team that was really poor out in New Orleans when they lost that game. So I feel like there is still this inconsistency there, regardless of everyone being on a hype. And don't get me wrong, it's making the Giants way more watchable than you thought they were going to be heading into this season. But right now, yeah, I agree with you. I think right now the Broncos will get this done at home. And once again, just piling that pressure on the Kansas City Chiefs, trying to end the Chiefs' 9 consecutive AFC West titles. Look, can the Broncos do it? I think they'll once again be a playoff team, but can they make that rain? I think they'll get the win this weekend.
So we are running a bit low on time because we are about to, in about 5 minutes' time, walk that way and head over to watch the Jaguars team practice. So we're going to rattle off the last few games, give some quick one-word answers, who we think is going to win the games on Sunday. So we've got, first of all, for you, Will, Chargers hosting Colts.
Oh, I'm going to go with the Colts. They lost in SoFi to the Rams a few weeks back, but I think this is a team that is rolling ahead of Berlin next month. Look, I can't wait to see them in person in Germany, but right now, yeah, I'm going Colts over Chargers.
I agree, especially with the injuries they have at defensive line. Give me the Colts as well. Packers Cardinals, I'm going for a Packers win. I just think that this Cardinals team has too many issues, can't seem to find ways to lose games, and I think the Packers for me are still, despite being 3-1-1, I still think they're one of the teams to beat in the NFC. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think the Packers win this one. Look, this is a team that can put points up. I know that maybe they stuttered a little bit last week against the Bengals. Maybe we expect so much more from the Packers considering the improvements that they've made and the quality on this team. But yeah, I think they're going to have too much. I think Jordan Love is going to have a big day against this Cardinals secondary. So yeah, I'd go Packers on this one.
Next up, we have a NFC East division match as the Cowboys take on the Commanders. Will, who are you seeing win this?
Oh, this is a tricky one. I tell you what, I'm going to go with the Commanders. I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. I think there's just some weakness in the Cowboys defense still. Well, there's a lot of weakness, I think, in this Cowboys defense under Matt Eberflus. So I'm going to go with the Commanders. I think they can be got at. And Jaden Daniels, once again, he's struggled with injury coming, at moments in this season so far, very early in the season. It's a team that's also been playing without Terry McLaurin, but they gave the Bears a real go. It could have gone either way. But yeah, I'm going to go Commanders on this one. What about you?
Once again, I agree. We haven't found any game we disagree on.
Have we found? Okay.
I don't think we have. We're going to have to find one, I think.
It might be Sunday Night Football.
Yes. Or I think maybe Monday Night Football.
Okay.
You never know. Speaking of which, Sunday Night Football, it's the 49ers hosting the Falcons. Tough one because the 49ers have somewhat exceeded expectations with the injuries they've had to a lot of players. They've managed to find ways to win, and they beat. We mentioned the Rams, talk about their team. They beat them on Thursday Night Football last week. So this is the team that finds ways to win. I think the Shanahan, particularly in the regular season, the Shanahan era has been defined by that, winning games and defying the odds and sort of going against adversity. But, looking at this Falcons team, what I saw from Bijan Robinson, I think it's in Santa Clara, so you could give the edge to the Niners in that sense, but I don't know, the Falcons are good. But it's the Falcons, so I'm going to let you go first. I'm going to bottle this one and give you the chance to go first, because I'm really torn about who I think wins this.
I was incredibly torn as well. It comes down to it, doesn't it? Do you side with the 49ers despite the injuries, or do you go with the recency bias of what we've seen with the Falcons up against the Bills on Monday night? I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. And the reason I'm going to go with the 49ers is simply because regardless of the injury, season ending for Nick Bosa, for Fred Warner, I think this defense, if you're going to have a coordinator who can get the most out of a young defense, I think it genuinely is going to be Robert Saleh. Now, this is a team that, again, it lacked that leadership from Fred Warner when he goes down. But I think with Robert Saleh leading this young, hungry defense, I think they can cause problems for the Falcons. Don't get me wrong, I think it could be an explosive game. How do you stop Bijan Robinson? Look, George Kittle is set to come back. I think that's a massive help on offense. They've been lacking guys. Ricky Pierce will still wait and see his status. It looks like Mac Jones is going to play once again. But I think Mac Jones, look, he's looked competent, hasn't he? So I'm going to go 49ers on this one. Does that mean you're going Falcons?
No. I'm going Niners as well. And I think what I tend to do in games like this where I'm torn, I'll go for the team's home. And I think, the Falcons are still a team that lost and didn't score against the Panthers, who've been poor at times this year. So, I'm going to go for the Niners. And I'm going to go with the same method of approach in terms of the next game, home advantage. I'm going for the Lions to beat the Bucks. Now, this for me is potentially an NFC Championship preview. I think what we could see, personally, is the MVP against the NFC champion. I still think the Lions can win the NFC, and I still right now would pick Baker Mayfield as my MVP. And I think the Buccaneers, they're 5-1. They have got the best record joint with the Colts in league, but I just think the way this league's been this year, there's not many teams with 5-1. A lot of 4-2, 3-3s. I think there's a lot of teams who are beating each other right now. I just think personally the Lions, I can't see them losing 2 games in a row, especially a home game as well in Ford Field, with being a primetime game. They're going to do a lot of stuff around the stadium, like a lot of primetime games do in terms of that, making it real fierce atmosphere. So I'm going to go for the Lions, but that is purely because of the home advantage. I think both teams are just really, really good.
Well, look, I've got to go against you there, Andy. At the moment, we're going up against each other on picks, right? So we have to have a difference. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, you mentioned it there, 5-1. Baker Mayfield right now, that noise growing of being a potential MVP, and I think he's getting it done with the injuries. Emeka Egbuka, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they have not played together at all this season. The 3 of them. He's been having to do it with this ragtag group of receivers as well. I think this Bucs team has had the Lions number over the last couple of years. I think the Bucs get it done. I think once again it's another massive statement for this team, whose defense is also playing at a very solid level as well. Vita Vea is playing really high. I'm going to go with the Bucs on this one.
My timer has just come out, so we got one quick last minute before we end the show, and it's the other Monday Night Football game. I don't know why they've got 2 games again, but they are 3 hours apart, so you haven't got that clash quite as much. We've got the Seahawks hosting the Texans. I think it's quite an easy one. I'm going to go for the Seahawks. I'm not keen on the Texans O-line at all. I think Stroud has struggled because of that, and just in general as well. And I think the Seahawks have looked really good with Sam Darnold and looked good with this Mike McDonald defense. Smith and Jigsaw has been one of the best receivers in the league this year. So for me, give me the Seahawks to end the show. Will, are you in agreement?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Let's go Seahawks, and that means it can then ride on the Bucs-Lions game for the whole picks in general. Seahawks, like you mentioned right now, defense playing at such a high level, beating the Jags last week. The offense, JSN, you mentioned, having big day after big day. Darnold slotting into this offense. It's playing at such a high level. Can it maintain that for the season? Is it sustainable when the run game, there's still a few questions? I don't know if it's sustainable for that amount of period of time, but to beat this Texans team, it's a hard defense, one of the best defenses in the league going up against the Texans. I think the Seahawks will get it done. I think it's going to be tight though.
Interesting. Well, that is the end of the show, end of our Week 7 preview. Will, first of all, thank you for coming on once again.
Been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to Sunday. Should be a great spectacle. Let's hope it's a great game as well.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward even more to Monday Night Football now with this game on the line for our predictions. Quickly before we end the show, Will, how can people find you on socials?
It's a very good question. I am on Twitter, WillVarney_. Obviously keeping up to date with everything that TalkSPORT is doing. You can follow the TalkSPORT USA YouTube channel. So much great content on there. We're going to be out in Berlin next month, out in Madrid as well. So yeah, make sure to keep up to date with everything on that channel, and then on my socials as well. Going to be out there. It's going to be good fun.
Well, there we are. Make sure to follow Will, and also just keep an eye out on TalkSPORT socials in general, and of course our socials as well. We're bringing you content from the game on Sunday, and we'll mention it then. I'll also be in Berlin and Madrid hopefully, so hope to bring you content out there as well alongside Will. But in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, our Week 7 preview with myself, your host as ever, Andy Davis, with our guest today in TalkSPORT's Will Varney, and we'll see you guys next time.